intro video to what I would consider to be the most valuable resource within this course, which is, I mean, you've got the testing strategy, but how do you implement this and practice it and get students to make this practice a habit? And how do you get them to use this strategy consistently and see the why behind it? Well, these warm-ups, that's the answer for how that happens. These warm-ups really do help students to see the progression of this strategy, that you're not just making them work harder just to work harder. You have purpose behind what you're asking them to do. They're seeing the value in it. They're also getting used to thinking in this progression. When I introduced this strategy before and had students take a test and said, okay, use your strategies on it, I'd walk around, the student would say, oh, I'm ready to turn in my test, and I would pull up their test and they didn't have a pat list, or they were missing R's and D's, and I'd say, oh, you're missing this step, and they'd say, oh yeah, let me go add those, and they'd go randomly write R's and D's on the paper and write a pat list after answers had been circled. And at that point, we're just checking the boxes, checking the letters off and saying, okay, yep, did this letter, rather than using each step, each letter to help get them those correct answers. And when they do that, when they use this in the correct way, that's when they're going to see those consistent increases in their scores. I've seen it done in so many ways, and I won't go into this for very long, but there was one instance where, I developed these warm-ups when I was in the classroom teaching this strategy. And then when I moved out of the classroom and to my district position, I got to bring this to the district wide, and I had so many teachers just love and buy into this and use these so consistently. And I had one teacher in particular, she used it incredibly consistently with her students. In fact, she'd email me all the time and say, hey, I need another warm up. And as I was making these, it took a little while to make at times. I'd say, okay, make her another warm up, send it to her. A little bit later, oh, I need some more. I ran out. And so I'd keep sending her. She kept me making all these as quickly and efficiently as I needed to. And her scores were phenomenal. And in fact, in our data meetings, I remember she was a new teacher to the district, bought into this training, loved the strategy, used it consistently with her students. And in our data meetings, it was the height of COVID, and everyone would pull up the teacher scores, and her scores just stood out to everybody each benchmark test before STAR. And it was during COVID, and so a lot of times you'd see some exceptionally high scores, and you say, okay, well, that's great, but we might have students that are at home. I mean, half of us are at home, or maybe over half of us are at home, and there could be students looking up answers, having help with this test. So great scores, but let's move on because we don't know what that data actually means like it used to. Next test, her scores went up. Same thing, great scores, but we're not necessarily sure what's going on there. Well, it came down to STAR, and her scores went up even higher than her progression. In fact, she had 100% passing, and she did not have advanced classes. She had some of the lower classes and STAR support classes, and had 100% passing. Incredible percentage for even meets and masters. And I had been checking with her throughout the school year, saying, "What are you doing? Do you think your kids are cheating online, or are your online students? Or you think they're taking this test and with accuracy?" And she'd always be hard on herself and say, "Oh, it could be that." But then when it came down to STAR, and that data doesn't lie. Her response was, "Well, we did one of these prove warm-ups every week, and they would do other fun things. It wasn't a drill and kill classroom, but this was something that she did so consistently." And it makes sense because she was always reaching out and asking for more of these warm-ups. There's a reason she was running out, is because she was using them so consistently. And so seeing how consistently she used them, she had a couple other things that she used that I'll share in this course and talk about with how she held students accountable, even with testing and 6 weeks assessments and any test they were taking, how she held them accountable to use those strategies. But it really came down to these warm-ups. And I couldn't agree more, because I saw that in my own students in my classroom, saw that with multiple teachers across the district and now even across the state. And just the feedback I've gotten from this has been wonderful. So what is this? I've talked for long enough, long talk about the background of it. You've got one page here, and I'd start on paper with this. You could do this digitally and move to online, but start with paper until that thinking becomes consistent. I don't want the tools to be a hindrance and all those things, but printing this out on like this page being the student activity page, and then the poem on the other side, or the nonfiction text or the fiction text on the other side, is how I like to do it. One, I like the one-page warm-up where they can punch holes in it, goes in their binder, their folder, however you do warm-ups or bell ringers, maybe something you collect at the end of the day, whatever your procedure or process is. I liked it being on one page rather than a stapled packet and we lost page 3 and whatever. I always like when warm-ups can be on a single sheet of paper. And so this is one side of the page, and then the poem in this instance will be on the other side. I print it front and back. Like I said, you can hole punch it as well. Now, where did I get these? And again, I'm going to explain how to break it down, what to do on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday in the next videos. I didn't want this to become too long of a video. Also wanted to just make it manageable and allow you time to even practice this on your own. But how you will come up with these and where you're printing these is from Release Star Tests. And I like using Release Star Tests for these warm-ups. One, there's so many passages and questions out there that creating your own test, even though there's so many easy platforms and ways to do that now, just instant stuff through AI, I have found that why not just practice with the closest thing that students are going to see on this for the STAR test, which is STAR passages, previously released ones. You're not going to get closer to that. And until you run out of those, use those. And so what I have for you in this course is I have made these for enough for the entire year for you to use. And you might have some benchmarks in there where you are pulling from released passages that you can't use some of these for, and that's understandable. But you should have enough to use throughout the year, especially if you're using these for the revising and editing, like I'll talk about as well, which you have plenty. You have enough to use this every week for the entire year. And I know that might not even happen, even if just daily things that come up. We didn't have a warm-up this week, or we had this warm-up that was really great this week, or we needed to practice whatever, some kind of writing piece instead. Those things can keep you from using this every week, which is fine, but you do have enough if you wanted to. So I pulled these from release passages, and so this page is what you have given to you, and then to come up with the actual passage, you have the link to the STAR release test, which is a PDF. And all you'll do is print this out on one side. You can copy and paste the text onto a document and scan it in, or you can take screenshots, whatever is easy for you. And then it tells you which questions, because you'll notice that there's answer choices that are missing. And so on these slides, and I'll talk about why those answer choices are missing and when to show students the actual question with the answer choices at what point in the week. But all I've done is I've told you which number they are. And so all you will do is go in, take a screenshot of that question, throw it on the slide so that they're ready to go for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday here. And so it's very simple. It's just, one slide if you want that there just to introduce students. Okay, we're doing Mondays, we're doing Tuesdays, for you to mark it up on the board with them. You can project the passage itself, or and then clip in those questions just for the multiple choice questions. But again, I'll explain more of that here in the later videos as I talk through what's happening Monday, what's happening Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. It's on the page, but I like to just explain how I present this to students, how I might teach it, and have students have conversations about it as well. So that is the gist and the reason why for these Prove warm-ups. And again, true game changer, something I would encourage you to do consistently through your classrooms, through your class periods. Start with that poem. It's the easiest one to begin with. So we'll talk about what you do each day here in later videos.